Welcome to the Choose to Change 90-Day Reentry Program. If you're a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we are glad you are here. Many of us walked into these rooms not knowing what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people with real problems who had real hope. This 90-day reentry program is a self-supporting group sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation. There are no dues or fees to attend a class, but we do encourage donations from our members and anyone who believes in what we are doing. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change. So if you're ready to change your life, then you are in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever and a relationship-based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there are no easy way out of the mess we created in our lives, even if it wasn't your fault. But the good news is that there is a way out if you would choose to believe in the impossible. My name is Frank Salazar, and I've been a member of the Choose to Change program since June 2015 when I walked into the Choose to Change class, not knowing where to start, but I knew I needed to change, and Orlando challenged me to quit trying and start doing. Yes. So that was about 10 years ago, and I'm still here and we're still moving forward. And yesterday was Christmas Day, and I got to spend part of the day in church just watching the children's program, and then I went home and I spent time with my family, which I hadn't been doing the last few years. I would just go to people's houses that had fellowships, but I wasn't spending time with my own family. But I decided I need to make a change so I can show my family that I'm actually doing something different, because all they know is that I'm staying away from them. But once I decided to make myself available to them, they've been inviting me more and more. We had New Year's, we had we had Christmas Eve, we had Thanksgiving over there, and now New Year's. Like, I'm already getting tired of my family again, but I have my family. But many of us didn't have families, and we're just now getting our families. So if you had New Year's or Christmas with your family, good. Even if you got to say hi to your son or daughter. I didn't see my kids. They were up there in Round Rock, but I talked to them on the phone, and they were happy. My middle son was making plans to catch Santa in the act. I don't know if he succeeded or not, but that was the plans that he was doing, and I was just happy to hear what they were doing. Now, today we have a special guest speaker, our very own Pastor Jeremy Moreno, and we're going to be hearing from him as soon as he's ready. And you ready? Okay, now without further ado, let's give a round of applause to Pastor Jeremy Moreno.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Frank. I always love his introductions. I always feel special. One day I'll introduce you, Frank, and I'll get to say all the stuff you say about me. I don't have, obviously, I'm not Orlando, right? I don't have his background when it comes to his mindset and what he thinks, but I do have an understanding of what it is, what it takes to change. And that's what we're here for, right? I do know and I understand that it takes getting to a place where you feel, you know, that if you continue the same way you are, you're going to lose everything. How many have ever been there where you feel, if I continue the same way I'm living, I know that I'm losing more than I can get? So when we reach that point, many people can just continue life the same way without any changes, without anything different. And guess what happens? They end up losing everything. But when it comes to a point in our life where we can understand something needs to change, something needs to be different. Have you ever looked at your life and said, I wish things were different? Well, the first place we start, does anybody know? For everything to change, what's the first place? We have to change. Now, here's a question for you. If everything in our life is out of order, or we're not attaining what we want, we're not reaching our goals, we recognize that we are the first ones that need to change. Let me ask you this. What about us needs to change first? El mero bravo ahí.
Uh, our mentality. I think that's one of the things we have to start changing, because
It's
for
true.
so many years you start feeling people telling you you're worthless for so many years. That's what you start to believe. So I think with your mentality, changing the way you view things.
Oh, that's very good. Your mind, right? So if we need to change, that's the first step. The second step is what needs to change about us. Obviously, our habits, our attitudes, our friendships, our way of thinking, our way of seeing things. And how do we change all of that about us? Well, exactly how Brother Ramon just told us right now. It's your mindset. How you think of things, how you view certain things will make the difference. I want to look at, first of all, Revelation chapter 21. And we're going to read verses 5 through 7. And I'm going to read the New Living Translation. It says, y'all ready? It says this. And the one sitting on the throne said, look, I am making everything new. And he said to me, write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true. And he also said, it is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious will inherit all these blessings, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. Have you ever read that scripture before? So let me ask you this. It starts off saying the one sitting on the throne. Who's the one sitting on the throne? Who's talking here? Anybody want to guess? Frank, you want to take a stab at it? Who's the one sitting on the throne? Who would be the one talking? Jesus, right? Sitting on the throne. And he's saying, look, I am making everything new. Everything new. Does that include you and I? Can God make us new? Here's another question. Do you feel that you need to be new? Do you feel that something needs to change? Because some people, they feel, hey, I'm not the problem. It's life. It's the family I'm in. It's the house. It's the neighborhood. It's the valley. You ever heard of that? It's the valley. No, it's not the valley. It's you. Because what did David say? David said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I didn't mean to make that joke of the valley because the valley of death, right? But I'm saying, David said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. Why? Because God is with me, right? God is covering me. So that means no matter where you're at, no matter what situation, no matter what family, what house, what job, what city, even if you live in the valley, if you're with God and God is with you, you can change. It's much less the things around you that need to change and much more things inside us that need to change. I have this illustration that I've used before, but I really like how it. I really like it. It says that there was a businessman that wanted to buy a warehouse property, and so he contacts the realtor. Hey, let's go take a look at the warehouse. So they go and they take a look at the warehouse, and the realtor, he's trying to sell. So he opens the doors and he keeps telling them, yeah, we're gonna, don't worry about the mess. We're gonna clean that up before you buy it. And then they'd go and he'd open a door and the door would fall down. Oh, we're gonna take care of that door. Don't worry about it. We're gonna fix that. And then they go to a back room and there's no windows. Don't worry, we're gonna put windows. The realtor's just like promising the world and the moon. Mira, you buy it, we'll fix everything. After a while, after the tour, the realtor was telling him how much he was going to invest in taking out the garbage and fixing up the place and the structural changes and damages that he was going to repair. And the guy said, hey, you don't have to worry about the repairs. When I buy this place, I'm going to tear it down and build something completely new. I remember when I first heard that, I was picturing it in my head, right? A building that's falling down, the doors falling off, and then how we're trying to fix it. And the owner's like, no, I'm gonna make everything new. That can be you and me. We can be caught up, right, in looking at our life and trying to change these little tiny things. Oh, let me just change this. If I could just change where I work. If I could just change, where I live. If I could just change, where I go to church or this or that. But can I tell you, what we really need to change is the whole building, ourselves. Everything. When God buys us, when God sees us, he sees that he can change everything inside of us. So when Jesus comes and he's looking at our life, right? Let's just imagine Jesus was buying our life. And he's looking at your life and you're trying to excuse things. Well, God, I don't always smoke, but, I'll stop pretty soon. You know what, Jesus? He opens the door and a beer bottle falls off, right? I'm trying to stop, I'm pretty close. I'm down to 1 hour. And Jesus is going through your life and you're excusing these things. And at the end, Jesus is like, hey, I could change everything. I could tear it all down and build something brand new. You don't have to be stuck on these little things that when God gets involved in our life, we can change completely. Now, I'm going to tell y'all a personal story, and you have to promise not to say anything to my wife. Make a deal? Pause the live stream, mute it. When we first got married, me and my wife, she was a very different person. And so we were involved in the church. We were in a lot of ministries, but she was a very harsh person. I don't know if some of y'all ever met her back then, but she was very vocal, very obnoxious, very rude. She was the kind of woman where she would say things, right, in a public setting. Oh, this looks horrible. Oh, this is stupid. Things that you're like, why are you saying that? Like, nobody needs to hear that. And then her answer always was, if I don't say it, nobody will. I have to say these things. I have to point out these things so that they can be better. If I don't tell them, who's going to tell them? I'm doing them a favor. So at home, it was always fights. In public, she was always offending somebody, doing something, saying something she shouldn't have, doing something she shouldn't have, offending. And just, it came to a point where she would wear that like a pride. Like, I say it like it is. You ever met somebody who says that? I just say the truth. I say it like it is. And if you don't like it, there's the door. Well, guess what? Everybody was walking out the door. Came to a point where she didn't have any friends. And then I suffered because I didn't have any friends because nobody wanted to hang out with me because, well, you can come, but, leave your wife at home. And I remember this went on for years. My wife was just, that's how she is. And I would talk to her and we'd go to pastor and we'd do all these things. And then her response was always, this is just the way I am. I can't change. I can't change my character. I can't change my like who I think, who I can't change me. She says, if I change, I'm not myself. I'm not Eliana. And I had no answers for her. I was just like, hey, fast and pray. You know, I don't struggle with being rude. Like, I don't know what you want me to do, you know? And, you know, obviously life will, when you don't learn a lesson, life and God will make sure that you learn the hard way. You may not change, but he'll make you learn the lesson over and over. Remember in school, if you didn't pass the test, what happened? You had to retake it or make it up. God and life is the same way. When there's something he wants to teach you, if you haven't learned that lesson, he'll make you take it over and over until you finally get it. So we're at that point, years in the making. People don't want to be around her. We're not even in ministry anymore. All because, I mean, not, well, I guess, yeah, I could say it. All because she was a really horrible person. And honestly, if you want my honest, truly opinion right here before you in God's house, I didn't think she could change either. I, being her husband, married to her, yanimola, I couldn't do anything else. I just had to love her like that. I learned how not to get mad. Man, my patience through the roof. I had to just, well, that's how she is. Now I started saying that. That's just how she is. That's how God made her. Apparently, how do you change someone's, the way they are? And I remember one time she just broke down. She was crying. She's like, I don't have any friends. I want to be different so bad. How can I do that? I said, the only one that I know that can really change somebody is Jesus Christ. He's not just for people that are out there just, you know, murdering and drugs and alcohol and just bad people. No. God is also there for people who have addictions that need to be free. God is also there for people who want to change their mindsets and their characters, people who damage others with their words, who with their actions. God is there for any kind of change that you need and want to achieve to better your life. Jesus Christ is there. And so she got on her knees, she got a relationship with God, and she said, God, do whatever you have to do to change me. And I can tell you, because I live with her, because I've seen her since we got married till now. We just celebrated 2 weeks ago our 13-year anniversary. And she is not the same person today that she was back then. She's not rude. She's not mean. She doesn't speak her mind. She may text it to me, but she won't say it out loud, you know? And I see who she is. Today, we talk to people in church, and I'll just, you know, out of a gratefulness to God, I'll bring up sometimes to people how she was. Think she, like a situation. Hey, remember that one time he did? And people in church will be like, she did that. I'm like, and that's just like the PG stuff I could tell you, you know? Like, they don't believe it. Why? Because she's a different person. She was able to change who she was. She was still the same. She was still her, Eliana, but she was different. God was able, and she was able to take steps to put people in place in her life. Hey, when I ever start talking like that again, tell me. When I start acting this way, tell me. She put in place things to change who she was completely. And God got involved and gave her a new personality, a new identity, completely different to who she was. Today you see her, you would never know who she was before. Why do I tell you that story? And why do I risk getting in trouble with my wife? Because I just want to illustrate to you that anything that you battle with, anything that you and your character, the way you think, the way you see life, the way you process things, the way you look at business or failure, success, the way you look at God, the way you look at your life, the way you look at habits and addiction, the way you can see everything. Sometimes we in ourselves can say, I'm broken. I don't think like everybody does. I don't operate. I've messed up. I'm messed up in the head, Pastor. Some people even tell me, Pastor, I'm crazy and there's nothing I can do about it. There's always something that God can do about it. Always. If there's something in your life that is grabbing a hold of you and you want to change, you desperately want to be different, Jesus Christ can and will change you if you allow him to. Even character, even mindsets, the way you talk, the way you act, the way you walk, God can change everything. But you have to be willing to surrender. I want to read with you Isaiah. Go to me in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, verse 43, 18 and 19. It says, but forget all that. It is nothing compared to what I am going to do. For I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness and create rivers in the dry wasteland. Think about that. Look what God is saying. He says, one, he's saying, I'm going to make something new, right? I'm about to do something new. Don't you see it? Look at what he says. I will make a pathway through the wilderness and a river in the dry wasteland. In other words, the desert. When you look at a desert, what do you see? Dry, just dust, sun blazing, right? And God is saying, when I get through with it, I'm going to create rivers in the dry wasteland. Where there should be no rivers, God will make them. Even if it's out of place. In the desert, there shouldn't be rivers. But when God gets involved, there'll be rivers. That's just us. We can look at ourselves and say, no, there's no help for me, Pat. There's no hope. I've tried changing. I'm already 45. I'm already 50. I'm already 60 years old, and I've tried changing. I've done everything. It's just not possible. I just got to make peace with it. No, when God gets involved, even in places where it's not normal, God can make change happen. The wilderness is a place, it's somewhere remote, somewhere where nobody knows. God says, I'll make a pathway through the wilderness. I'll make a place where you can travel through it without getting lost. That God is saying, when I get involved in your life, what once was impossible now becomes possible. Now I feel like Orlando. There's 3 things I want to go over with you that are going to help you change. Number 1, you have to really want it. If you don't want it, doesn't matter if they force you, if they twist your arm, if they choke you. Doesn't matter if they make you sign papers or give blood or make these covenants and promises. If you don't want to change, guess what? You're going to get worse probably. It's true. If you don't want to change, it doesn't matter if people cry to you, if people yell at you, if people push you, if people pull you, if people beg you, bribe you. They could do all these things. But if you don't want to change, you're not going to. And you shouldn't take that as something prideful. Yeah. A mí no me mueven, yo soy la montaña. And all those kind of sayings, like you shouldn't be proud that people can't change you. You need help. You need to want to change. Because when you want to change is when you'll start opening up to help, to guidance. It's when you'll start opening up to advice. You ever met somebody where their life is all jacked up, and the moment you try to, hey, maybe you shouldn't, you try to give them some little advice, just little advice. What's the reaction? Hey, you live your life. I'm living my life. Okay, bro. They're offended. They get angry. They get mad. And what do? You back off. But when you want change and someone comes to give you advice, you're not going to look at it as an attack. You're going to look at it as, this is what I needed. I can tell you, it's a mindset thing. I've been there. I've been on both sides of that, where I feel like, hey, I already know everything. I've been doing this for years. Somebody goes, hey, you've been doing this wrong. My first initial instinct is to be like, I'm a pastor, Go sit down over there, sir. But when you have the right mindset and the right heart, I'm not viewing it as an attack. Now I see it as, man, I could be better than what I am right now. I'll take his advice. I'll put that into my arsenal. I'll take that, use it, and I'll be better. How different is that? One, I could have made an enemy out of somebody, and now I'm making them a mentor, a friend, a help, somebody I can go for advice just by changing my mindset. You can either make enemies in your life or make friends simply by the mindset you have. You have to want it. Number 2, you have to stop looking back. If you don't stop looking back, you're never going to be able to move forward. That's the number 1 rule of change. I would tell my wife all the time. She'd come to me and she'd be like, I messed this thing up with these people and I said this and I just feel so terrible. I want to avoid them. I said, you can't live in the past. Yes, you did things, said things, hurt people, done things. Okay, it happened. If you've apologized, you talk to them, hey, let's work it out. If you sit there and think of everything you've done, you're just going to be hard on yourself. You're not going to want to go anywhere. You're not going to want to talk to anybody. How many know if we look back at our life and things we've done and people we've hurt, we can be down and out. You'd be depressed. I mean, hopefully you care enough about what you've done to people to feel something, right? We need to forget. We need to move on and say, you know what, that's who I used to be, and that's not what I want to be anymore. So if I'm going to move forward, I need to let go even of the guilt, the shame, the torment that you feel because of the decisions you've made. I like what it says in Numbers, chapter 11. In verse 4, this is the children of Israel. They're going towards the promised land. They're trying to reach something new. They've been slaves the whole time. They've been slaves in Egypt. They're trying to reach a new place, the promised land, the good life. They're trying to reach a good life. And while they're going, one of the things that started messing them up is they started remembering the past. They started to remember what it was like. Look what it says. Numbers 11:4. It says, then the foreign rabble who were traveling with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt. And the people of Israel also began to complain. Oh, the meat, they would exclaim. We remember the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt. And we had all the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic we wanted. But now our appetites are gone, and all we ever see is this manna. So they're trying to make changes, go somewhere, but they're stuck thinking about the past. Think about it logically. How can you move forward if you're tied to the past? I had an illustration once that I did with the teenagers where I had two guys stand there, big buff teenagers, 6 feet, big guys. And they had these ropes and they tied them around the waist of a little tiny guy like that. He was a little guy. And I told him, hey, go forward, reach over there. And every time he tried to go forward, those big guys, they just pull him back. In fact, they were so big, they didn't have to even move. They just stand still, and the poor guy, he's clawing and crawling, and he's there in place, I told him, if you want to move forward, you have to cut off the past. So he untied the ropes. Now I told him, go over there as fast as you can. And he ran. It's a visual illustration of how easy it is when we simply begin to cut off things and start saying, I don't want to identify as that. I've been that person my whole life. I don't want to be him anymore. You know how we react to life? We react to arguments. We react to things. Bad news. You ever notice how you react to bad news? We need to start looking at how we're reacting, looking at how we're acting, looking at how we're being, and saying, if any of that, it reminds me of who I used to be, I need to cut that out. If my reaction is the same reaction from who I used to be, then I need to stop. Then something needs to change. Something needs to be different. They're going towards a goal, but they're thinking of the past. They're stuck. It's just the same way with you and me. We're never going to change if you're still thinking about the past. You know, we go to a church where people give their testimonies. And sometimes I get kind of bothered when people give their testimonies because it sounds like they miss it. I used to sell drugs and I used to have 5 girlfriends and 5 boyfriends and I used to have this. I'm just like, okay, you're saying it like you're reminiscing, like you're like, wow, the good life. Then this one's not good, right? It's like, hey, wait, we're supposed to be looking at our past and say that wasn't good. I don't want that anymore. I want to reach something better. I want to be the best version of myself. And the life I was living before was not allowing me to be the best version of myself. The habits I was involved in, the people I was around, the sin that I was in was not allowing me to be the best version of myself. Now through Christ, we can change those habits and be the best version of us. The God-made version. The tailor-made version. The last thing we need to remember, and this one's kind of controversial, but it works for me. Recognizing that we're not perfect. That's very key to change because people can tend to feel like, oh, everybody wants me to be perfect. They want me to be perfect. They want me to be pristine and clean, and they don't want me to change, and they don't want me to, I can't mess up. I can't even think wrong or I'll get in trouble. No, it's not about being perfect because nobody's perfect. Even the people dressed up with nice suits and nice cars and nice houses, they're not perfect either. Nobody's perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about us trying constantly without stopping. If you can continue trying to change from now till the day you die, you'll be all right. You have to understand, you're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to change who you used to be better. It's okay. Sometimes we fall. How many have fallen before? How many have failed? Just going back to that illustration of when you're in school, if you fail a test, what happens? You get a bad grade, right? But what can you do? Retake it. I mean, really and truly, if you fail enough tests, you don't pass that subject, they make you repeat it. But you get a chance to finish it, to do it. Hey, you got to come in the summer now, but at least you'll pass. It's okay. Sometimes in this walk that we're in, we're trying to change. We're trying to go forward. We're trying to make all these things happen, and we're trying to let go at the same time that we're trying to reach forward. It's a lot happening at the same time. It's okay if sometimes you don't make it. It's not okay if you stay there. If you fall, you just need to get back up. If you relapse, you need to tell somebody. You need to, hey, I need help. I messed up. I went back. All right, we'll help you. We'll shake it off and we'll continue going. Too many times we're so hard on ourselves that you mess up one time and you give up on everything. You're so hard on yourself that you mess up one time and that's it. I'm just going to go back. When it's not like that. If we mess up, we can get back up. We can confess. We can talk to somebody. Hey, I need help. I still struggle with it. I've been good. I've been clean for this long, but I failed. I messed up. I went back. Okay, then let's move forward again. Don't hide from your mistakes. Don't cover them up. Don't try to look good for others. How about we really say, hey, this is where I failed again. Apparently, this is my biggest weakness. This is where I need extra help in so I don't fall again. Does that make sense? Change is messy. Change is dirty. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty to make something change, especially when it comes to yourself. But it's worth it. It's always worth it in the end when you finally make it. I want to finish off with this scripture in Psalms. This is my favorite scripture. It's going to be Psalms 51, 7 through 11. Psalm 51, 7 through 11. And I'm going to read the New Living Translation. I'm going to end with this. It says, purify me from my sins, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Oh, give me back my joy again. You have broken me. Now let me rejoice. Don't keep looking at my sins. Remove the stain of my guilt. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Make me willing to obey you. Then I will teach your ways to rebels, and they will return to you. First of all, he's saying, hey, I'm wrong. Forgive me of what I've done. Forgive me. Wash me of my sins. And then he says, create in me a clean heart. What is he saying? He already has a heart. He goes, but I need a new one. I need a brand new one. Can I tell you, if there's anything in your life, if there's anything you can learn, if you're anything you're learning from today, I want you to take this with you. Doesn't matter what area of life or what habit or what character flaw, it could be something minor or something huge. If you give it to God, He can help you change. There's no, oh, well, you don't know, it's hard for me. It's that you don't know what it's like. I don't have to know. I have my own battles. Everybody has their own issues. All I can tell you is we've changed. I've seen people change. That whole story I told you about my wife, she changed. I've seen it. If you ask me how, I don't know. I don't know how she did it. You talk to her if you want. But I see the difference. I see who she was and who she is. And thank God she's not who she was, because we probably wouldn't be married, if I'm honest. But God works miracles. What's a miracle? Something that we can't do on our own. If you need that change, go to God. God, I don't want to be this way. And follow these steps. And understand that God is with you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Is there any other questions, any comments, anything you want to add? Or anything you'd like to know? Y'all know everything? Y'all should teach me. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. Hopefully there was something you could take from there that would bless you, that would help you, encourage you. And again, if my wife finds out, I know who said it, because I see all y'all here. I'm going to give it up to Frank. Thank you, Frank.
A round of applause for Pastor Jeremy. And Eduardo will be passing around the bucket. It's time to give. If you're able to, we'll take up a little donation. Every little bit helps. If you like the coffee, if you like the preaching, if you like the activities that we put on, that's what this money is used for. And before I sign off, I want to say I've known Pastor Jeremy since he was a wee little boy, and he's come a long way, because I remember one of the first encounters we had where we were actually butting heads, and he was with his little friends, and they came and brought him to me and said, Frank, Jeremy said you're the fat Frank, because back then I was heavy. and I never forgot it. But I forgive you, Pastor. But from being a little kid, just rambunctious, to being a pastor and going overseas, he's come a long way, and he's someone that I look up to. Thank you for coming. Next week will be the first Choose to Change of the new year. Orlando should be here, and if not, we'll still be here, and we'll see you next time.